We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is a Saturday, and as often the case, we have our good friend Ed as a guest, the elder statesman, if you will. And Ed wasn't with us last week because you had some technical problems.
Yeah,
And
I was moron.
well, the first thing you said to me was, "Yeah, I'm having problems with AOL," and I said,
Yeah,
I know your problems. You're dealing
yeah,
with a fucking technology from the goddamn 90s."
that's right. But it's like if something works, why change it? It's just everybody who I'm in contact with has that email address, and I just don't want to go through the hassle of telling everybody what the new one is.
So do you
It,
have the contacts saved on your flip phone too?
I was late to the game on everything. Okay, I was probably the last person in the world to get an iPhone.
Really? I still don't have an iPhone. I like Android better, but everybody else in my family has iPhone because they're fucking sheep. No, I don't care about. I had an iPhone for a short time. I didn't like it, but so we're back and we got plenty of shit to talk about. Big breaking news, as they say. Everybody else says it. I don't talk about breaking news because I think that's a little overused. But since we last talked, a lot of things have happened we'll talk about. But
Yeah,
Charlie Kirk was assassinated in Utah while giving a speech. And that caused an uproar.
yeah. And I have to mention this. At the moment he was shot, he was talking about how it was worth it to have a few gun deaths in order to secure Second Amendment rights. He was actually talking about mass shootings. And we should also point out there was another mass shooting in a school at the same time in Denver, in the Evergreen School, where three students were shot at the same time. Your network news probably didn't mention that. They've just been
No.
talking about Charlie Kirk.
Well, and the thing is, I've said to people, they're acting like Charlie Kirk is important. JD Vance went down with Air Force Two to carry the body back. What's he going to be in state in the fucking Capitol too?
I believe so. Yes, actually.
Oh, Jesus Christ. They don't
Mhm.
even do that for senators
No,
typically. Um, but,
they've
but
lowered the flags to half staff and so forth. I mean, anyway, continue. I know what I'm in agreement with what you're saying.
I'm not sad about it. I just, to quote a old joke,
Mhm.
it's a good start. It's a good start. But of course, when this happens, first of all, Charlie Kirk died from an environment or a climate that he was fucking part of creating.
Yeah.
He had a big audience and he whipped people up and he created this violent level in all parts of the country. I don't feel sorry for the guy. And some people say, how can you not feel sorry for him? I said, look, he's a horrible person. And if you don't believe me, just go on YouTube and watch his fucking videos. If you still think he's a great guy, well, then you're fucking complicit with this motherfucker.
Mhm. Exactly. And, I've heard people say, well, all he did was encourage open debate. When you are taking a side of the debate that's indefensible, it's not a debate. I'm sorry. He was basically pushing in the idea that black people and other people of color, Native Americans, are inferior, that their quote failure to progress, as he put it, is on them, not because they have been systematically put down, which we all know to be true. So if you're arguing from a racist base point, no, you do not get my respect. You do not get to engage with me other than maybe my fist in your face if you say it close enough. I'm sorry. The two are not equal.
And Charlie's been quoted. There's so many quotes of Charlie. It'd be worth it for people to die if we can preserve the Second Amendment. Thanks, Charlie. We preserved the Second Amendment. He
Yeah.
also said, and he said, well, he wasn't racist. Well, he said some things like this. He said, if I was getting on a plane and the pilot was black, I'd question whether or not he's qualified and I may not go on that plane. He
Hmm.
also said, if I'm going into a doctor's office and the doctor is black, I would question whether he's qualified. I don't know. That seems pretty standard fucking racism to me.
It simply is. And you could I mean, I'm sure there will be people will try to find some fine point, or they will say he's like Ann Coulter. He's just saying the outrageous in order to
Make
attract
money.
listeners. Well, there you go, and that's exactly what it is. They will say he's a Christian. He had no, he showed no Christian values that I'm aware of at all. I mean, he did the lip service. They all do, but it's actions, people, not what you say.
So the killing happens, and Donald Trump and the Republicans are coming out and saying it's a libtard, it's a transgender guy, this is war. Okay, bring
Yeah.
the fucking war. There's going to be casualties in war, and Charlie Kirk was number one. But they were insisting that this was transgender and the violent liberal fucks. But they catch the guy. Now, yesterday, Cash Patel and the FBI basically admitted they had no leads in this situation going on 2 days after the fact. We know this because they put out pictures and videos and $100,000 rewards. And if you know anything, let us know. So the FBI knew nothing. And then we find out today, we're recording this on Friday afternoon, that that the FBI and Cash Patel caught the murder of Charlie Kirk. But wait a minute, they didn't really catch him. They
No.
didn't catch him. The kid went home. The kid went home, confessed to his dad, and they turned themselves in.
Yeah.
So Cash Patel didn't do jack shit. He got lucky that this kid turned himself in. But I was anxious to see this kid, this
Mhm.
this transgender Antifa immigrant. God, he's this libtard. I can't wait to see him. Turns out he's a 22-year-old white heterosexual guy from Utah,
Mormon.
Mormon, conservative family. Dad works for the sheriff's department, so dad no doubt taught him how to shoot a fucking gun. And there
Yeah.
was a picture of this kid, Tyler Robinson, with a Trump costume or something like that.
The Halloween. He dressed as Trump for Halloween last year.
Right. So he wasn't liberal. He wasn't transgender. He wasn't LGBTQ. He wasn't an immigrant. He wasn't a person of color. Just like I predicted beforehand, it's going to be a white Republican because these people are the ones that do the violence, not the liberals. And while he's not affiliated to a particular party, he's 22 years old, and his entire family is conservative and support Donald Trump. So people will say, well, why would he kill Charlie Kirk? Again, what I suggested before. Charlie Kirk said that he jumped on board with Donald Trump and says, yeah, release the Epstein files. And then when Donald Trump came on and said, yeah, there's nothing here to see, Charlie Kirk was talking shit about Donald Trump, right? He
Mhm.
was talking shit about Donald Trump because they weren't releasing the Epstein files. Then Charlie got a call from Donald Trump. And then Charlie says, all right, we're not talking about this anymore. So
Yeah, I
either
think he
this
said,
kid,
I'll trust my friends in Washington to handle this, I believe was the quote, or something along those lines.
he got taken to the woodshed and told him to shut up. And so he shuts up.
Mhm.
And my guess, if it's about the Epstein thing,
Mhm.
my guess is there are plenty of Trump-fucks that still want the Epstein thing, don't understand why Donald Trump is not releasing it. Fucking obvious, but they don't understand it. And the fact that he went back on what he started out with, I think that's what pissed him off. That's what I predicted. People would be pissed off about the Epstein files not being released. And Charlie Kirk, their young leader, went caved to Donald Trump and caved to the pressure and decided, yeah, we don't need the Epstein thing. So, nonetheless, a Republican, white, heterosexual, conservative comes from a Republican family. That's who killed Charlie Kirk. So, your narrative that it's the libtards and you want to start a war, you're going to have to
Mhm.
rethink that fucking thing.
Yeah, well, the problem is they won't listen to anybody who um, will tell the truth about this kid. They'll still label him as some sort of liberal or something. I mean, look at Minnesota, the guy who shot the legislators there and tried to kill some others, who murdered some legislator and her family. and the dog, and tried to get some others. They were all saying he was a liberal, to begin with. And then
Yeah,
when it
and he
became
wasn't.
obvious that they couldn't sell that, they just shut up about it. Also, remember, Trump is out there all over this. He wouldn't even call Governor Walz about the shootings in Minnesota. He discounted them. He would have nothing to do with it. So when it comes right down to it, anybody who is for no gun control, this is on you. It's not on
Yeah,
anybody else. It's on you. If you don't want any sort of gun control, this is on you. Because if he could not have gotten the gun, he wouldn't have done it. It's that simple. That same thing, the shooting in school that took place the same day in Denver, if that person couldn't have gotten the gun, those students would not have been shot. The same thing in Minneapolis. Those students would not have been shot without the gun. It's the guns, it's the guns, it's the guns. We had for a short while, we had an assault weapons ban, and the shootings practically went away.
right. Well, exactly. And some people try to shame me and other people that, oh, you seem like you're have joy about Charlie Kirk being murdered or making fun of Charlie Kirk being murdered. And I say, I don't take any joy. What I don't like about this whole scenario is that something like this happened in the country, regardless who got shot. I don't like the image, the chaos, and all the shit it creates. But as far as Charlie Kirk goes, people are going to say, well, you should be nicer. You should be sympathetic to his family. Let me tell you about Charlie Kirk. When George Floyd died,
Yeah,
he made jokes about it. He
yeah,
talked shit about George Floyd. When Nancy Pelosi's husband
yeah.
got attacked with a hammer and went to intensive care, he made jokes about it. He created a conspiracy theory, a scenario that it was some gay love triangle. So don't tell me about Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk's dead. Um, uh, great. I don't like seeing people get killed, but this guy created the situation where he could be killed. And secondly, it's just like the farmers. I don't feel sorry for the farmers because you put yourselves there. When do adults become accountable for the things they say and do? There's accountability. You might have your First Amendment right, but there is consequences for some things you say. Donald Trump got sued twice for libel or slander or whatever it was because he used his First Amendment right. He could say it, but there are consequences. And Charlie Kirk got consequences, and I'm not going to feel sorry about it. I'm not going to be glad that somebody got killed. I'm not. I do kind of feel sorry for his family,
Yeah.
but he put himself in this situation to be in this danger. And he even said that he thought his life was at risk
Hmm.
before this event. So he knew something was fucking up.
Yeah, and maybe he heard things through the grapevine. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm sure maybe he realized that he was stoking a fire that he might get burned by. I don't know. I never saw that level of self-awareness in him to know that. He seemed like a guy who just talked a billionaire into giving him money to start Turning Point USA, and he just to keep the money rolling in. But he was information deficient. For one thing, he was well practiced with his arguments and so forth when he was debating people who were not prepared. That's what it comes down to. But all of his opinions, uh, he was anti-minority. He was racist. He was anti-woman. He was anti-LGBTQ. Anything that the right was against, he was out there demonizing each and every day. I'm not glad that somebody shot him. I don't think any. If I'm against people shooting people, I'm against people shooting Charlie Kirk too. But
Absolutely.
but as Clarence Darrow said, I never killed anybody, but I've read a lot of obituaries with pleasure. And I won't say I took pleasure in it, but when Rush Limbaugh died, I didn't shed a tear because he did exactly the same thing. He stirred up the ignorant, and that's what Charlie was doing. And I'm sorry he got shot. I'm sorry that it was done in such a way that it would inflame the country and also steal the attention away from the Epstein files, which is probably had something to do with it too. I'm still not convinced that these, like the guy that shot in Trump and this guy, I'm not sure that somebody isn't egging them on somehow. I don't know that, but there's something going on. Um, this might be a time to bring this up. You know, I do TikToks. I do videos, just my talking head. I do cartoons, political cartoons now, and I also do text things with music. So I did a text one last night, or yeah, just last night, yesterday afternoon, with explaining that in Germany in the 30s, there was a German diplomat by the name of Erich von Rath who was assassinated supposedly by a Jewish teenager. And that was hyped by Hitler and the Nazis and brought about Kristallnacht, which was when all of the Jewish businesses were attacked and the windows were broken and they were ransacked and so forth. And I put the facts of that case in with the tag "sound familiar." And TikTok immediately hit me with a community standards violation, even though this is established history. There is no doubt about it. It's not violating any sort of community things, but they are now, of course, being censoring themselves so that Donald Trump will leave them alone. So I now have I don't have a strike. It's just a violation, but we'll see where it goes from here. We know the new standards are even tougher ones are coming in Sunday. I wonder if this wasn't just a warm up for that, because literally there's nothing about community standards here. I gave you history, period, with
I
a
think the
song.
important
Everything old is new again.
the thing about it is you have to understand how this works. It's either an algorithm that picks out a word like Nazi or whatever, it picks it out and it flags it, or you get Trumplafucks that are butthurt and they report you. That's what happens. Um, you talked about the new community guidelines that are coming out tomorrow as you're listening to this,
Mhm.
September 13th. And to be honest with you, we've heard so many different things about these guidelines. For
Mhm.
all intents and purposes, it could mean on the 13th, the 14th, or whatever, me and a lot of other
Mhm.
liberal creators could just get kicked out. Just,
Yeah, I
I mean,
assume
that's
that.
what people are saying. I don't know that that's going to happen. And I've told people before that I'm not going to bend a knee. I'm going to continue to do what I do, what I've done for 5 years. And if I get kicked out for it, I've got YouTube, Substack, and Spotify. So I'm not going to worry about that. And of course, you're on YouTube as well, and
Mhm.
other places. So we all we have to do is wait and see. I mean, I think this is the reason TikTok is doing this is because they're trying to work out a deal and they need
Mhm.
Donald Trump's favor in order to do that to stay in the United States. So they're doing what everybody else does, CBS, ABC, all these people. What they do is they go, oh, yeah, Donnie,
Mhm.
whatever you want. Because the TikTok people said this is only for a temporary change.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
You don't feel convicted enough to stick with the change? You're just going
Right.
to wuss out now and then maybe come back later? I'm sorry. I can't trust that you will come back later, and I'm not going to change what I do because you're a pussy.
Right now, at the same time that I put that perfectly factual historical illustration on, I did something else. If I hold this up, can folks see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pull it
Um,
back a little bit. Yeah.
there we go. Now, if you don't find that offensive, there's something wrong with you. This is a naked Trump. Okay, this is one
Oh,
of the
shit.
cartoons that I have posted right now, and so they let that slide. No complaints at all. But when I quote history, I think their algorithm just flags anything that refers to Germany, Hitler, Nazis,
Nazis.
anything
Yeah.
like that, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. So, anyway, this narrative was important to Donald Trump that it was a liberal that did it, a transgender guy that did it. Now they don't have that. What do you think they're going to do? They're just going to stop talking about it, which would go against
Um,
Donald Trump's distraction from the Epstein files.
Well, this is the thing we have to say too. Trump immediately leapt onto TV and laid it at the feet of Democrats. And, not leftist crazies, just Democrats, and basically said, demonized Democrats for this. And there was no connection. It was obvious he's obviously Republican, conservative, whatever. So I don't know. What do they do? They never go. They never backtrack. They'll try to keep pushing this until the kid has a manifesto or says why he did it or something.
Well,
Um,
well, what they're going to say, or what they are saying, is that the Democrats have weaponized the narrative and media and caused this adversarial and dangerous climate in this country, which is ironic because we have judges, we have people in government, in Congress, who have all suffered under the rhetoric that Donald Trump has spewed and put them in danger. So,
yeah,
Donnie, I'm sorry. I don't feel bad for you. It's just a matter of us giving back what you've been giving us for fucking 10 years.
exactly. And I see far less of it on the left than I do on the right. I mean, if I go on my local TV website, um, the news portion of it, I will see nothing but kill the libs. The war is
Yeah.
on, all of that kind of shit. So I don't see that from liberals. What I do see is reasoned things saying I just because I don't mourn this guy doesn't mean I support him getting shot. And that's pretty much it for most of the liberal people I know. We despise this guy for what he did. I despise Ronald Reagan because he did terrible things. I despise Donald Trump because he does terrible things. And I despise Charlie Kirk because he
He's a horrible human.
was a horrible human being who espoused horrible points of view. So
And
yeah,
again, people will
you
say,
know,
how can you say he's a horrible human being? Just look at what he said. If
that's
you don't
it.
think he's a horrible human being, you must be a horrible human being.
That's pretty much it. And that's why I know Trump will give him the Medal of Freedom. He did nothing to deserve it. He gave one to Rudy Giuliani, who did nothing to deserve it. He gave one to Rush Limbaugh, who did nothing to deserve it. That particular award is now worthless
It
because
is.
of
It's a
what he
joke.
has done with it. So any Democrat now who awards a Medal of Freedom, it's tainted. It's tainted by having to be shared with Rush Limbaugh, Charlie Kirk, and whoever else Trump may choose to give it to, because it's the exact opposite of what it was meant for.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, you know, in some respects, had it been a liberal that done this, that might have struck terror in all of the Republican Party because they're used to being the bullies and pushing and punching and doing all this stuff. It's not until somebody pushes back that bullies run and become scared. And I think when this happened, there's a lot of people in Congress right now, Republicans. There's a lot of people in the media that are probably terrified right now. And frankly, I don't know whether they have a right or a reason to be terrified. But understand this: if you're terrified right now, you created this for yourself. And I'm talking about the media. I'm talking about politicians. Keep it up, motherfuckers. And if the Democrats do strike back at some point, then you should be very afraid. That's when the pitchforks and the torches come out, and the end is near at that point when everybody's pissed off and they feel like they've got no other options.
Yeah, and the Republican, it's always if all you got's a hammer, everything is a nail, right? It's all
Right.
they see is put everything under the thumb. The iron fist comes down. That is the Republican response to everything. Crime,
Right.
send in the military, so forth. Create a police state. That doesn't work. What does work, quite frankly, the best thing we could do to deal with crime is eliminate poverty. That would do it. I guarantee you. Income
Absolutely.
inequality is the reason for crime. And it's also the reason for rampant mental illness untreated because people can't get treatment.
Yeah.
This is the thing. It is the income inequality that was put in place by Reagan, started by Reagan, and has snowballed to the point where about 10 people control most of the money in this country. Then that's where, when you have an entire generation of people who certainly will never be able to own a home, may not own a car, generally speaking, live from paycheck to paycheck. If they do have a job, they're a private contractor, so they get no benefits or even contributions to retirement plans, including Social Security. So, yeah, let's start there. Okay, I'll even let you keep your guns if you invest in poverty, getting rid of it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Now, you mentioned the invasion of cities by Donald Trump, the National
Yeah.
Guard, and ICE, and all that stuff. Donald Trump announced today that he's going to be coming to your red state of Tennessee, to Memphis, which legitimately has some crime problems there. But I'm curious as to how the red state Republicans are going to respond to these people roaming the streets. At first, they might think it's cool, but when they're neighbors and they're merchants and people start getting scooped up and mistakenly detained and stuff, I have a feeling the Republicans may not like. Be careful what you're asking for because you may not like it.
I don't think they will. I just was walking around my town. I walk my dog Maisie twice a day, and we do pretty much a circuit through the town. Okay. And I started looking at the construction projects going on. There's a historical black church they're renovating that they got money to do. Most of the people working there are Hispanic. People mowing the lawns are Hispanic. The people putting the roofs on are Hispanic. And I would assume a large number of these people are not documented. Now, at this point in time, if you want your lawn mowed, if you want anything done that has a physical component to it, and that includes harvesting crops and so forth, then if those people are gone away, people will notice it. It will impact them. Um, so I don't know if bringing it home to them will make a difference or not. Memphis has been a problem. Nashville has a crime problem. All big cities have crime problems. And the reason is, I believe, people who are poor head to the cities because they think they're not getting anything in the small towns. So they think that they may be able to get some sort of service, some sort of help, and they wind up there. And if you're in poverty, you will try to eat and do things for your family. And if crime is the only thing available, that's what you'll do. You're not going to stamp it out with a few National Guardsmen walking around with a rifles, that they're not going to even be able to use, and it's just stupid. It's stupid. Soldiers are not policemen. They're not meant to be policemen, and it will end in tragedy ultimately. You're going to see people shot. You're going to see people killed, and it will be on Trump.
I'm not musically inclined, but I know we have some people in the audience that are musically inclined, and I thought of a parody song that fits these invasions. And it goes back to a song in the 1970s by a band called Grand Funk Railroad. And the song would go, we're the National Guard. We're coming to your town. We'll help you party down. We're the National Guard.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I mean, that's exactly what it is because these people come in and they're just loving the experience until they get the pushback. They're getting pushback in the likes of Los Angeles and DC. I don't even know what's going on with Chicago. There might be some there, but it's pretty quiet at this point. But when they get to a Republican town and they think, well, they're on our side, we can do anything they want, and then people get their toes stepped on, this could get kind of ugly because remember, the red states are the ones with the guns. The red
Yeah.
states are the ones that commit the assassination. So this could get crazy if they piss off these people.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Now, I'm not gonna shit you. I mean, this is really right. I'm in the Republican section of Tennessee, East Tennessee, and talk about, people say, oh, it was the Democrats who were the racists. Bullshit. All Southerners were racist. I grew up here. Okay, most of them still are. And Republican, Democrat made no difference. They're still racist. It's very, very racist here. And I don't know, depends on the guard. Do they want to see black soldiers walking around with rifles in their town? Probably not. And there are blacks in the National Guard
And I've
and
always
in the
thought that that might
military.
be the breaking. I always thought that might be the breaking point when they go to these Republican towns and immediately they think, "Oh, this is great," but they don't account for the fact that Donald Trump is ham-handed and fucks everything up. So it's not going to go well when they go into these towns. And the liberals, they of course get mad, but when the Republicans get their feet stepped on, they're not a patient group. They're not patient about this. And this may be the thing that turns some Republicans against him. I mean, the whole Epstein thing is costing him a lot of votes in the Republican Party, even in the base. And when you start uh, upending these Republican towns, he may not get the reaction he's intending. I mean, keep in mind, everything Donald Trump does, he fucks up. Everything.
Yeah.
Tariffs fucked it up. So when this happens, I always look forward to Donald Trump doing something, especially to supporters, because I know he's going to fuck it up and it's going to cost him popularity.
Oh, absolutely. And the Kent State. That's all I got to
Right.
say. Anybody who's
Yeah.
my age, or even you, younger by 10 years, you know what Kent State was. They sent the
Yep.
National Guard in with student protests to Kent State, and they opened fire on unarmed students, killed
Right.
several. The next weekend, Jackson State, a primarily black school, Mississippi, they went in with, I believe it was Highway Patrol, and same thing, you put people with guns against protesters, the protesters are going to lose. We see it in LA with the rubber bullets and the tear gas and all of that stuff, which it should not be happening. In most cases, these are peaceful protests, but these guys are just blazing away at people that because they're assholes. Okay, you give an asshole a gun, he's going to do the wrong thing with it. You give them a little power, they're going to do the wrong thing with it. And they can't do this forever. They don't have enough guardsmen, they don't have enough soldiers to do this in every city. Oh, we pacified Washington, no crime at all. This week, the criminals are not stupid. They're
Yeah.
just holding back. They're just putting back, got their feet up. Wait till the soldiers leave. We'll be right back at it. It's a
Well,
temporary respite. That's it.
and I don't know if you heard this quote from Donald Trump, and this just exposes him for the absolute sexist misogynist he is. He said, they say it's down 87%, which is probably bullshit in DC. They say it's down 87%, but they it would be perfect. It would be 100% if they didn't include the domestic violence type stuff.
Mhm.
Man and a woman have a little fight. That's a crime, really? Tells you
Yeah.
where his fucking head is at. Yeah, that's a crime, bitch.
Well, remember his first wife uh, accused him of
Of
dragging her
rape.
down the stair by rape and dragging her around by her hair and so forth, being physically brutal. And she recanted in order to get a settlement, I guess, but it was true. I'm still not sure he didn't shove her downstairs, to be honest with you, or have
Well, that's
somebody do
interesting.
it.
That's an interesting way for a woman to die falling down the stairs. You could have a heart attack, you could be poisoned, you could do a lot of things. That was just a weird occurrence. I'm not saying anything happened, but
No.
um,
Uh,
whenever I talk about crazy claims, I'll say that sounds crazy, but what doesn't sound crazy the last
right.
10 years? Crazy shit that we never expected to happen. I wanted to mention something about Charlie Kirk. Um, we know that there was some concern with Charlie Kirk and some other people around him that he might be in danger. And
hmm
you weren't sure where that would come from. What he said, he was making the connection between Epstein and Israel.
Yeah.
And that may or may not be true. I don't know. It seems possible. I mean, that's with this Epstein file things, it sounds like it goes deeper than the sexual abuse. There's $1.5 billion floating around, a lot of people. Um, so he was making the connection with Epstein, and he was concerned about the Mossad and the Israeli government coming to get him. And I'll be honest with you, if the Israeli government and Mossad were pissed off at him and wanted to get him, they probably would. Now, they didn't in this particular situation, but he was concerned about that because of the shit he was talking about Israel.
Somebody got him. He didn't kill himself. We
Yeah.
know that the tape was edited. We know that now. And they keep coming up with these fallacious statements about the tapes and so forth. They've made up the whole thing about, well, they reset it every night, blah blah blah, which we now know is a lie, flat up
Yeah.
lie out of the mouth of the attorney general, flat up lie. And we know for a fact. I mean, there are things that you can't prove. We know somebody killed him. It's that simple, you know. And I also think he probably was somehow involved with something that they thought they had to protect him, early on. Why he didn't go to prison the first time when they had him dead to rights, and why
Oh yeah.
everybody knew what he was doing, but at the same time, he had to be gathering information for somebody or something. And while we're here, let's just we got the Speaker of the House, Johnson, saying, well, Trump was at those parties, but he was just there gathering information as an FBI informant. I think he's backtracked on that now, but a lot of others have picked
Yes.
up on that Trump was some sort of undercover informant going after Jeffrey Epstein. So much bullshit. So much pathetic bullshit. Why would you, as a voter, seeing your representative, who is now Speaker of the House, saying this shit, why would this man ever get another vote? He is an inveterate liar. That's all he does. He's no Christian. I don't know. I'm not sure what he is, but he's certainly a waste of skin, if nothing
And
else.
well, I think he's like Donald Trump and a lot of other people. He gets in a tight position and he just spews whatever comes out of his mouth. He says that Donald Trump was an FBI informant. That immediately blows up in his face and he has to change his story. I just misspoke. No, you fucking lied. And
Yeah,
here's why the informant thing is a problem. First of all, you can't get Donald Trump to sit in front of Congress under oath and talk about anything.
no,
So the idea that he became an informant just out of being a good guy, that makes no
mhm,
sense. So
no,
why do people become informants? Usually to get out of problems they have.
yep,
So that would almost implicate him in the Epstein thing, saying, "Listen, you got me, but I'll turn on Epstein if you let me go free." So that's basically suggesting that he was involved, and we know he
yeah,
was involved. We know
sure we
you
do.
don't have 1,000 FBI agents go through the fucking files to redact his name if you're not in the fucking files.
Exactly. The other thing, this 50, the book, right, with the drawing, and then
The birthday book, yeah.
the birthday book for Epstein. Now they're all saying, well, this is a hoax. This was done to implicate Trump. This book is 22 years old. It was in the Epstein estate. Everybody else in there who contributed admits they contributed. But somehow or other, Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton got in a time machine, went back 22 years, and fake this and put it in the book so that 22 years later, in his second term, that Trump could be blemished by this association. Yeah, that happened.
Well, that's the point. Joe Biden, he can't complete a sentence. They say he's losing it, but yet he's some diabolical, fucking sinister motherfucker that saw ahead of time to get Donald Trump. I mean, it's what I said before. They just say anything to try to divert from it. I mean, it's so stupid if you believe it. Once you realize you're wrong, you got to be embarrassed by being sucked in by something so fucking stupid.
Well, this is the case. And I'm looking. I still say I think I probably won't be Halloween, but I've got holiday benchmarks for when Trump is finally gone. Probably won't be Halloween. I'm thinking possibly Thanksgiving, but it's probably going to be around Christmas. Watching him sit there in that tribute to the 9/11 heroes the other day, and watching one half of his face melt away
That's
tells me
weird.
this guy is on his last legs. He's either had a stroke, he was having a stroke, or it's imminent. I think he's probably had one, maybe a couple of them. I think they're pumping him when he has appearances. They're pumping him up with something that would allow him to get out there and get through a few minutes with the press, and then he's, watching him come downstairs and all of this stuff. It's not pretty. I mean, and we're talking Joe Biden in real time.
Yeah. Well, he did not look good. There was a couple of situations on that day. First of all, there was a video he put out on True Social about Charlie Kirk.
Yeah,
And if you watch it, people were saying, "Oh, that's AI." And it did give that kind of vibe that it's AI. And I don't know if it was AI, but I guarantee you it was edited with AI
yeah,
because it
hmm
was really fucking jumpy and
yeah.
weird and oddly lit. And there was some problems with that. Why would they need to do that? Donald Trump can't sit down and do a 3 minute fucking speech without editing it with AI. That makes no sense. And then, like you say, when he's at the 9/11 memorial, first thing he talks about is Charlie Kirk,
Yeah,
and then 9/11 gives you an idea
yeah.
what's important, what his priorities are. And as you say, well, he was talking, he very low energy, his eyes are shut, and he's kind of talking like this. There's something off because that's not how he normally talk. And then, like you say, he's sitting in the stand, sitting there, literally falling asleep, and also having this side of his face, like you say, melt. That doesn't happen to normal people. It didn't
Mm-mm.
happen to Donald Trump 5 years ago. So clearly something's wrong.
It didn't happen to Donald Trump 5 months ago. I
Yeah,
mean, this is rapid decline. There's a friend of mine. I'm not going to say his name or anything. He's a guy I went to school with and so forth. I started seeing him when I moved back here, and I've been watching his decline, and it's pathetic. And I hate that it's happening, but I'm attuned to it because people my age start to decline, and some of them rapidly. Right?
right,
I'm
right.
seeing this in Donald Trump.
Absolutely. I mean, he's 80 years old, almost 80 years old, and he doesn't eat well. He's not healthy physically. He's not healthy mentally, in spite of what his doctors tell us.
Hmm.
Wouldn't be unusual for somebody of his age to keel over and die. And I just hope when it happens that he does it on TV and it's the most embarrassing situation. I hope there is no assassination attempt.
Oh,
I
me
hope
too.
he's not assassinated because then he just becomes a martyr. And then they're going to try to blame the libtards and all that stuff, and it won't be a libtard. But if he just dies in an embarrassing way, then they can separate themselves from the cult and just be done with Donald Trump. Um, we I think the first and foremost thing we have to do in this situation to at least get headed back on the back on the right track is to cut the head off the snake. He is
Yeah.
the biggest problem right now because he can't be controlled and he will do crazy shit. I mean, like for example, his best buddy Vladimir Putin,
Hmm.
who he was going to come up with a peace plan in 24 hours with Russia and Ukraine. That didn't happen. Every time he goes to Vladimir Putin to talk to him, Vladimir Putin basically flips him off and then goes bombs more sites in Ukraine. And then this recent incident where the drones went into Poland. That was no mistake. That wasn't
No.
a miscalculation. That was Vladimir Putin doing what Donald Trump does: push the envelope, see how far I can go, and see what NATO will do. Well, NATO struck back with a fourth article, issuing a fourth article, Article 4, and just short of the Article 5.
Yeah.
I got to be honest, Vladimir Putin doesn't want that smoke, doesn't
No.
want an Article 5, because then you got
No.
30 countries coming after your shit.
Right, but Trump, I'm going to give him less time to respond, and that was probably a mistake. Bullshit. You know it wasn't. It's exactly what you said because that's what he does. I mean, quite frankly, and I am not one who will always say that the Democrats do everything right. When
No.
when Putin went into Crimea, he should have been met with force. That's when NATO should have stepped up and said, and with us leading it, withdraw today or the missiles fly to Moscow tomorrow. We'll take out your Black Sea fleet. We'll do something that will make you pay a price unless those soldiers are out of there by tomorrow. That's the only thing these guys understand. And Trump talks big. He talks big about this, but he'll blow up a boat off the coast of South America. He'll do that, which was probably just, if it was anything, they were smuggling, undocumented people, 7 of them, something like that. There were no drugs in that boat. He'll do that kind of shit. He'll drop a bomb on the Taliban, some off somewhere or something like that. But anybody who's got any weapons or anything to push back, he's not going to do anything with them, right? He's going after Venezuela right now because he thinks that he can push them without any repercussions. What I'm afraid of is he's going to declare some sort of war, and then he's going to say we can't have a presidential election in the middle of a war. It's just not done. You watch.
Yeah, well, then he might get Charlie Kirk at that point. But the thing is in terms of that boat, everybody says, "Well, it had drugs." There's no way it had drugs, and I can tell you why. Because that boat had 11 people on it.
Right.
They wouldn't put 11 people on a fucking drug boat because they want as much room and as much weight available for the drugs. There would have been 1 or 2 people on that boat. He just picked this out willy nilly to look like a tough guy and then try to change the narrative like he always does. But again, he always fucks up. So it makes no sense that that was drugs. Um, I have a feeling he might have problems starting a war with Venezuela. Not so much that Venezuela was going to push back, but there's going to be a lot of other countries that are going fucking enough. You
Yeah.
can't be fucking doing this, and there'll be pressure for him to back down or to get his ass out. He's going to do something at some point that even his own people are going to go, fuck, man. I mean, the Epstein files. If there's tons of video out there, and the DOJ is a leaky motherfucker
Yeah.
because there's people who don't like Donald Trump. I'm just waiting for a video to come out of Donald Trump in a compromising position, and then all hell breaks loose because not even the Republicans can stand with him at that point. They'll say
Yeah.
it's AI, but that was well before AI ever fucking existed.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the other thing. They'll toss that shit out because they know their followers, that they know the MAGAs are stupid. They don't know what AI is. They don't know how long it's been around. They think that we control the weather. They think the earth is flat. Yeah, they're stupid, right? And they'll buy anything that comes from him or his people, right? Anything.
Right.
But they're a small group. There may be 3%, something like that, that really would buy that shit. But there are other people, and I know them. I live among them. I know people here who think it's in their interest to be Republicans, but at the same time, they're embarrassed by Donald Trump.
Well, they should be embarrassed. And it's funny. I'm not on Facebook much anymore. I might look at it from time to time. I don't post anything. But a lot of people are being exposed on Facebook, I'm seeing that you didn't know if they were Trumplefucks or not. You might have an inkling that they are, but you don't really know. They start posting these pictures of Charlie Kirk saying, he's just a good Christian family man. Rest in peace. We weep for Charlie. First of all, whether he's a family man or not, I don't know. He put his family at risk by doing what he's doing. As far as being Christian, I would say to those people, if you believe Charlie Kirk is Christian, then you don't know what Christianity is, and you certainly aren't any fucking Christian. And that would make their heads explode. I would love to put that on Facebook, but I already got banned once on Facebook. I don't need to go through that again.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right about that. And the problem is they don't know,
Yeah.
especially this generation. I don't think have ever read the Bible.
Yeah.
and they just listen to other people tell them what's in it. And how you get from the Sermon on the Mount to Charlie Kirk is beyond me. It can't be done.
No, and it's funny. People will say to me, "Well, Charlie Kirk had a big following." Maybe he did have a big following.
So did
Um,
Hitler.
uh, well, yeah, and that's my point is that the people that follow Charlie Kirk are all Trump-la-fuck, racist, misogynist, anti-Semitic dumb fucks. So in a sense, he was a leader of a sizable group of people, but he was nothing more than the Pied Piper for a bunch of other dumb fucks. Those people don't count in this country. They don't understand how things work. So he might have had a big crowd, but the crowd was shit. I may have a smaller crowd, but I guess I'll guarantee you the quality of my crowd is far better than Charlie Kirk has, even though it may be smaller. It's not so much the size of the crowd, it's the quality of the crowd.
Well, I am seeing cracks in the wall. We have this woman who's running for political office in Georgia. And then she rats out Hyundai, who are building this $4 billion plant down there that they have these foreign workers there. So ICE comes in and arrests everybody who's there legally on visas. These are Hyundai employees from Korea who are building the plant because they know how to fucking do it. Okay. Now
Right,
they've
right.
gone home and they canceled the project. And all of those jobs that were going to be there for people in Georgia are going away. I wonder how her campaign's going to turn out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and she's kind of in a blue area, so she didn't have a
Yeah,
chance anyway.
no.
But the thing is what people have to understand about that and what should be reported is Donald Trump keeps claiming, well, this country is going to bring in 100 billion, this one's going to bring in 100 billion. The Koreans were going to bring into the United States maybe 500-600 billion dollars,
Yeah,
three of it in Georgia.
yeah,
And the Koreans aren't just Hyundai,
no,
they're LG.
yeah,
And all the machines that are going into Hyundai also go into Fords and Chevys and all this stuff. And they said, "Fuck it, we don't want to deal with this." So the money they were going to invest is one thing, but the jobs and the money it's going to cost in American companies is just unfucking believable. Somebody said it could be 1.3 trillion dollars after the long haul. So this woman thought she did something, and she just cost this country more than $1 trillion in money coming into this country. And this is what I mean. They always fuck up. And somebody asked Donald Trump about this, who's usually big on bringing money in. And he says, well, they should have been Americans. Fuck you, you dumbass. You got no Americans that can do this. That's why you brought in Hyundai. That's why they brought in these Korean workers. They weren't staying. They were doing us a favor by training Americans to do what the fuck they do.
exactly. See, this is another myth that all has been going ever since I was a kid. American ingenuity, the power of our industry is what makes us able to rule the world. No, what we had was distance. We were one of the few economies that wasn't destroyed by World War II. Britain bombed out, France bombed out, Belgium bombed out, Italy bombed out, all of Europe bombed out, Germany, Russia, all of these countries, Japan, all of China, all of these countries physically destroyed by World War II, right? So after the war, we're the only game in town. So
Right.
anybody who has any sort of scientific or business knowledge or anything, they come here and they create the American economy, the American business model that then the rich people decide that, well, we're not getting all the money, so we're going to put it back over there, right? Because they'll work for nothing. And we'll screw these American workers who want a piece of the pie. We're just going to take the industry and we're going to put it back in these other countries who, of course, were glad to get it. But at the same time, what you had here was just a loss of any sort of business acumen to really do anything except invest money. That's what we became. We became nothing but a bunch of corporations that knew how to invest money, and that's it, and not to share it. It all goes to the top and goes nowhere else. There is no trickle down. And that's why now we can't do anything because we offshored everything and the expertise and everything else. We threw it away, except the people still own it. They're still able to take the money. They're still able to invest it. Well, here's something most people don't know. Those farmers that are suffering, that are being foreclosed on because they stopped buying their crops, even after
Yeah.
they, you know, guess what's happening to the land? It's being bought up by
Yeah.
J.D. Vance, Peter
Yeah.
Thiel, through a group called I think what is it, Acre Trader. They're buying up this for these foreclosed properties. And
Yeah.
remember, this is not the first time. Remember Farm Aid, all of that stuff going on back with Willie Nelson, all those people trying to save farms from being. That was what was going on then. Even further back, the Grapes of Wrath, the Dust Bowl, that was what was happening. The banks were taking the land. The people they were sending the people away. Get off the land. We own it. Go to California, whatever. This has been going on since the 40s, since the 30s. And
Yeah.
and you'd think people would learn, but they don't ever.
Well, and I hear from a lot of farmers because now they're losing money and they're crying because they're losing their farms and all this stuff. And uh, Democrats are saying, "Don't bail them out, don't bail them out." Um, and these people are saying, "How dare you be happy that our farms are going away and that our kids are going to starve and all this stuff?" But the fact of the matter is, they went through this the first term. They did get bailed out. Okay.
Yeah.
But they should have learned a lesson. Donald Trump doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. So what
Mm-hmm.
do? They vote for him again. And then once again, he ruins their business. Now they beg for a bailout. Probably not going to get a bailout because there's nothing in it for Donald Trump to bail him out.
No, but
So,
there is something in for him and his cronies with the land. So
right.
yeah, that I think it's on purpose, quite frankly.
Yeah, they're not going to bail him out. And they say, how dare you wish ill on us? And all I have to say about that is, look, I don't like the idea to see farms going out of business. I don't uh, like the idea of farm families going through trauma and stuff. But you had a chance to make the right choice. And unfortunately, it's going to take this for you to fucking learn a lesson. Because if they bail you out again, 3 years from now, you'll vote Republican again because you don't know what's going on. You listen to the rhetoric, you click the clickbait, and you fall for it every time. So maybe it's important that you get your ass kicked before you fucking learn the lesson because they haven't learned the lesson.
Well, this is it. And people say, well, you'll starve if you don't have the farmers. Well, no, because what's going to happen is, I mean, you sit there in Minneapolis where Cargill looms large. They're involved in this too, and they have
Yeah.
been. The big agriculture, they are involved in stamping out the family farm as much as anybody ever has been. And as a matter of fact, family farms long gone. I mean, these are all bigger farms that we're talking about here. There are very few
Right.
family farms left. But that doesn't mean the farm goes away. It just means that it's owned by a corporation and that they hire the people who used to own it to run it. I mean,
Right.
but they don't create wealth anymore. They work for wages at whatever they want to pay. All right.
Well, and to be honest with you, soybean farmers, we don't eat that shit anyway. It's not for us. It's for Russia. It's for China. And when they say, fuck you, we're not buying it, we don't lose much by not having soybeans and stuff. It's the farmers that are going to take the hit. And this is something we warned them about this time around, and they didn't fucking listen. So sometimes you got to be accountable for your choices. You're an adult. Every action, there's a reaction. And if you're too stupid to see it, sometimes you got to burn your hand on the fucking stove to finally fucking learn.
Yeah, I mean, I worked with a guy when I worked in Faribault, Minnesota, who he had been a farmer. They brought him in as the farm director when the guy left, and he was doing that and running a farm. His farm eventually was sold at auction because he couldn't keep it going, but he was still a strong Republican, even though I pointed out to him, that's who took your farm.
Yeah, they refuse to believe it. So if we hope they learn a lesson, They have to burn down, apparently. And I'm sorry to say that. I would hope adults were smarter than that, but frankly, they just aren't. They aren't fucking smart enough.
Well, this is the thing, they know what they know and nothing else, and they farm out their intellect. They let the preacher tell them how to vote. They let the guy at the co-op tell them how to vote and so forth. They don't really seek out the knowledge themselves. They see the if somebody wants to help black people, say they see them as an enemy, even though, quite frankly, they are have far more in common with the low income black person than they do with the rich fuck who lives on.
Happens to be
Uh,
white.
yes, exactly.
Well, yeah, they just don't learn. And now Donald Trump, with this Charlie Kirk thing, everybody said, it's just another distraction, so we forget about Epstein. Donald Trump is in a position right now where he's got all kinds of problems. He can't distract from everything. He can't distract from Epstein now because it wasn't a liberal that shot Charlie Kirk. He's got the economy that's going to shit. He's got jobs are going away. He's losing jobs. He's not gaining jobs. And I don't know if you noticed, they said, well, yeah, the new jobs report is in, and there was 900,000 jobs lost in the year between March 24 and March 25. And basically, what he's trying to do is pawn some of that off on Biden. But the bottom line is this: when it was all said and done, even if you gave all those job losses, even if it's true, and I don't know that it is because we
It
can't
isn't.
trust Donald Trump's numbers, even if he lost those million and you blame it all on Joe Biden, you can't deny he still did create 15 million fucking jobs in his 4 years. And you
Yeah.
can't deny that Donald Trump in his first term lost 2.5 million jobs. So who do you think's really responsible for any loss in jobs now? It ain't Joe Biden because everything he did worked.
Well, this is the thing too, and everything is AI. Everything is AI. He's pushing it. Trying to get no restrictions on it. I think the Senate did push back and allow states to have um, some some restrictions on AI, but I don't know what they don't understand the impact. I just saw a story that said it's progressing much faster than they thought it would. Yeah, that's always the way. And between robotics and AI, there's not going to be any jobs beyond the service sector. I mean, and even then, who knows? I mean, I may be going to a restaurant with a robot waitress before you know it. It could happen. But anything that is that is on the intellectual level that in the past required people to do it will no longer be there. AI can do it. It won't be done as well. It will just be repetition of what's been done before, kind of a summary kind of thing, but it will get done. They're pushing that for medical treatment now.
Yeah.
One of the local hospital groups is using AI to not just schedule, but once again, that takes a lot of jobs. If you take away all the schedules and have AI do it, number one, it won't work as well. Number two, it'll take twice as long. Number one, you will have to wait twice as long. But at the same time, they I don't know if you saw this. There were two kids, and I forget where they were. Two young kids, both with a genetic disorder. They approved one and not the other, even though in their same family, roughly the same age, with the same disease. Um, so the kids, the school, all the kids wrote letters to as Blue Cross Blue Shield about this, and they went back and said, "Okay, we'll treat them both." But I can guarantee you that was done by AI because they said we rely on best practices, established best practices. This is jargon for what they're doing, okay? They're putting in a program and they're going to let a computer decide whether you get treatment or not.
Which is basically the death boards that they were
Yeah,
worried about so many years
exactly.
ago.
Exactly. They're there now. They're just now starting to admit that we're incorporating AI. It's incorporated. Okay. They're doing the same thing with doctors. I bet there are, in any given medical group, there are half as many doctors as there were 5 years ago. and they have PAs and NPs and whatever else that they have. And they have a doctor who supposedly is supervising, which is really just writing the initials on a pad. I mean, it's healthcare is becoming ridiculous. Everything is becoming ridiculous because it's being farmed out to a computer that has no compassion and really can only go with what summation of what has gone before. That's really all AI is until it develops consciousness and kills us all.
Right, right. Well, the thing with AI too is everybody is so amazed by AI and it does some amazing things, but it's not as good as it needs to be to take on some of these jobs. I mean, put it this way, if I'm on TikTok, I can tell if there's an AI post or not. It's a
Mm-hmm.
little off. It's not always accurate. I'm not saying it won't get to be at some point, but to put people's lives in the hands of AI that we can't completely trust at this point, that seems pretty risky at this stage. And of course, these people don't care. People die, and it's no big deal. But Charlie Kirk dies, and it's fucking immense. Let's get Air Force Two and bring him home and put his body in state. Fuck Charlie Kirk. I'm not. People say, why don't you cry for Charlie Kirk? Because they aren't crying for the kids that are shot in schools. They aren't
Right.
crying for the kids that are put in cages and not fed in the deportation. They're not crying for the millions of people starving because they shut down U.S. aid. They're not crying for all these fuckers. I don't care about one guy, one horrible guy, when you have all these innocent people dying and nobody gives a fuck.
That's saying I'll cry for all them because they're innocent. Charlie was not.
No, he was not. Donald Trump's not innocent. Frankly, nobody in the Republican Party at this stage is innocent. Some will say, well, I'm not like Donald Trump, but you support Donald Trump, so you're an accessory after the fact. You're just as guilty. You should go to jail. You talked about Pam Bondi and some of the shit she's doing, and there's some sketchy shit that she's doing. And I have a feeling she doesn't know much about history because she thinks she's above the law. I just
Yeah.
want to remind folks that during Watergate and the Nixon administration, Mitchell, the attorney
Yeah.
general, did go to fucking jail.
Yeah.
So be careful, Pam. When this is all over and Donald Trump is dead, you're going to be asked some questions. There's going to be some investigations.
I hope so. I'm encouraged by seeing these off-year elections where the Democrat seems to always win by a
Yeah.
large margin in areas that Trump won last time. I'm encouraged that the investigation into the New York voting crap is seems to be progressing. Um, we'll see what happens there. We know there was cheating. I would love to see Elon Musk in prison for election tampering. That would be great. And anybody else who was involved with it, including Donald Trump. I still hope those chickens come home to roost. I've seen many people that I hoped would get their comeuppance that did, but eventually they died, and that may be enough. I
Over
mean, it's maybe karma doesn't always work, but um, and maybe Putin and Xi can keep going with body parts forever. I don't know, but they'd have to replace everything on Trump.
well, if you ever question karma, two words for you: Charlie Kirk.
That's a strong argument.
Yeah. And Elon Musk, you said whether he'd go to jail for election tampering. Now they'd have to prove that, and we
Yeah,
presume there was some election tampering, but we know for a fact that he and his pimple faced tweaking twerks or whatever, they went in to private data,
yeah,
stole private data. Maybe not during the Trump administration, but that is illegal.
yeah,
And some people are going to have to address that after the fact because when there's a reasonable amount of people or reasonably minded people in office in the DOJ and in the presidency and stuff, they got to look at that because we don't know what kind of damage that they created. And the fact of the matter is, what they did in no uncertain terms is fucking illegal.
yeah. The karma I'm hoping for are for Mitch McConnell and Trump's, not Trump, Biden's attorney general, Merrick Garland. I
Yeah,
mean, one was McConnell was active or Trump would be gone, and Merrick Garland was inactive or Trump would be gone. Both of these
right.
people have a huge burden to carry karma wise.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't know what I'm kind of disappointed. Maybe it'll come back when Donald Trump is finally gone. But I don't like the idea that Merrick Garland is getting off easy. He can just retire and go off um, into the sunset, obscurity. I don't like that because he should be accountable. I know he's a religious guy. I know he's all about the law, but his decisions, his inactivity, put us where we are now. Had he just done the fucking job he was hired for, Donald Trump would have gone through his trials. He would probably be in jail, shamed, or on house arrest or something, and we wouldn't be doing this. I don't know if he realizes how much damage he did to this country, but the people of this country should hold him accountable. I'm not saying legally, I'm just saying whatever legacy he has should be fucking gone.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, just while we're on the karma thing, there are a lot of folks who should be looking over their shoulder because, quite frankly, you had a chance. Joe Biden, I'm putting you in there too. Joe, you shouldn't have run for that second term. You should have said, I'm a transition president. I'm done. We'll have an open convention. Whoever you come up with is fine because anybody can beat whoever the Republicans come up with. Good thing Donald Trump's in prison because that guy didn't have a chance, you know?
Well, yeah, I think you're right. Joe Biden is culpable for some things. Merrick Garland, like I said, not hiring Merrick Garland, but not firing him after a year of
Yeah,
inactivity. He should have
yeah.
done something. Joe Biden said he was a transitional president. I know why Joe Biden did what he did. He beat Donald Trump. He felt like he was the only one that could beat Donald Trump, so he'd tough it out, take one for the team, and run against Donald Trump. Never in his wildest dreams did he think his own fucking party would throw him under the bus, but that's what happened. Then Kamala comes in, and people create the narrative that this is all shady, this was planned, or this wasn't fair. They took a black woman, DEI, and let her run for the presidency. Had Joe Biden not run and they would have had the primary, there it would have worked out better. Not suggesting that there would have been anybody better than Kamala Harris, because I don't think there
She
would
might
have been.
still
I
have
think,
been the choice. She might have been.
yeah, but people didn't like the fact that they shoved this, or at least the perception of that they shoved it down their throat. They did what they had to do given the circumstances because the Democrats fucked up. But many people looked at it as kind of shady.
Yeah, that was it. And quite frankly, it would have been a miracle for Kamala to win, given the short time she had to run.
The pro
She had been running to buck up Joe, and then she had to turn on a dime and try to sell herself. And it just wasn't enough time to turn around. If she'd had the full year or whatever, um, could have turned out differently, but it didn't. So now we're stuck with this, and I resent it to everybody who voted for Donald Trump or did not vote. I blame you that I have to put up with this crap at this time in my life. I'm 75 years old, soon to be 76, and I resent like hell having to worry about being on a fixed income, having to worry about inflation, living in an area where somebody might come up and pop me just because I'm a Democrat, or I consider myself a progressive, but at the same time, I usually vote Democrat, that I could be killed simply because of my political views. I resent that. I resent the fact that we may go to war because we have a psychopath in the White House, or Ukraine may fall because we would not support them. So much that is going on in the world, I lay at the feet of those who voted for Donald Trump or did not vote, and I hate it.
make You make a good point. I blame the Democrats a lot of times. Will comes on here and blames the progressive Democrats. I don't know if it's the progressives. but the facts bear out what I'm trying to say. Donald Trump says he won by a mandate. If you look at what he lost by in 2020 and what he won by in 2024, there isn't much difference. Same
Right.
amount of voters voted for him. In 2020, 81 million people voted for Joe Biden, um, more than any other presidential candidate in history, because they just came off Donald Trump and they were tired of his bullshit. In the 2024 election, Kamala Harris got about 1.5 million, 2 million less than Donald Trump. So if these people came out in 2020 and they didn't come out to the tune of 8 or 9 million people and didn't vote for Kamala Harris, they're responsible. I'm just fucking saying. And why you didn't come out because you forgot that Donald Trump was a bad guy, or that you didn't like a black woman, or you didn't like a woman, there's no other way to explain it unless there was some insidious fucking election tampering that took away 9 million votes. And we don't have any evidence of that yet. We have a lot of suspicion and kind of some evidence in certain areas, but no one's come out and said this was wrong and this is what happened. A bunch of Democrats did not vote. So they have to take responsibility for what's going on here. And the interesting thing is about the Democrats, and I want to see what you think about this. If you remember on election night, they called the race faster than I've ever fucking seen it. They were
Yeah.
giving it to Donald Trump one by one. That
Yeah.
seemed weird.
Yeah.
That seemed strange. And the Democrats didn't fight it. They didn't ask for recounts. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. My question is, and I've said this before, and I think people think I'm crazy, but when Kamala didn't win and Donald Trump takes office and presumably the Democrats in Congress don't do anything to hold him back, I get the sense that the Democrats were so surprised and so pissed that they lost that race that they got frustrated and they said, okay, motherfuckers, if that's what you want, deal with it. And then when it's done and we have to pick up the pieces, then you'll vote for us again. It was kind of frustration from the Democrats saying, fuck you, you deserve it.
I think there's definitely some of that. Now, let me answer about the difference between being blamed on the progressives, right?
Mm-hmm.
Progressive Democrats are what made the Democratic Party what it is, and I'm
Right.
talking Roosevelt and everybody involved with his cabinet and so forth. That created. I mean, before Roosevelt, the Democratic Party was the party of Jim Crow. Remember that? You know, it was only because so many black people moved from the South to the North, where their votes had been suppressed, and voted in the North and joined the coalition with Northern Democrats, that any sort of Democratic that Roosevelt was ever elected in to begin with. And then what they did was put in place all of this progressive legislation. They created Social Security, and Johnson came right in with Medicare and so forth, and civil rights, and everything that created the middle class, which did not exist before Roosevelt. There were merchants, yes, but normal people were working their asses off 7 days a week and 12 hours a day, barely getting by. But with Roosevelt putting all of the investment in infrastructure and so forth that he put in place, created the middle class that allowed them to start building wealth. And it lasted up until Jimmy Carter, when the Democrats turned on Jimmy because of the oil embargo. They let Reagan take over, and then they sat back, and then they were enabled by this new group of the Clintons and the Gores and so forth, who were as much involved with Wall Street, as much as tools of Wall Street as any Republican ever was.
Right.
So that's the turning point. We need progressives. That's the only way the Democrats were able to do anything, by being progressive, by giving people things that they could see that they were doing better because of the Democrats. That's why. And
Absolutely.
that's what we have to be.
Well, that's a good point. We know that during the Depression and everything was very radical right, This is what Robert Reich said. When you have a radical right type situation, when you come out of it, then it goes way left.
Yeah,
It's kind of a correction type of thing. And if that's the case in this situation, which I presume it will be, people react by going farther left in order to try to get it. The whole idea of having Republican or Democratic centrist, at least for the foreseeable future, nobody's going to buy that shit because
no,
they're trying to ride both sides of the fence. They're trying to keep everybody happy. I don't want to make a decision. I'm a centrist. I think that if the Democrats want to do anything for as bad a shape as we're in now, the only thing they can do is go far left to repair what's been done and to make people feel comfortable and confident in their government again.
absolutely. Call me a socialist. Call me a damn communist if you want to, but I'm not. I am I am a progressive, and you can call me a democratic socialist. I'll accept that. I want government controls. I want things that make things better for everybody. I want to reduce the gap between the extremely rich and the extremely poor drastically. We have to have income equality in this country to a greater extent. If somebody, I mean, I've got a neighbor here who's a millionaire and he earned every penny of it. I applaud him. Okay. I just want everybody to have that chance.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what I never understood. I'm a capitalist. I've owned a business or two, but I believe people should get help. People have to understand. Every year you pay taxes. You pay taxes on fucking everything. You pay taxes on your income. You pay taxes on your cars. You pay taxes on your house. You pay taxes on everything. If I'm a wealthy guy and I'm making an investment in something, which taxes essentially are, why do we pay taxes? So we have services and roads and help and stuff. If I'm putting money into an investment to portfolio, I expect a return on investment. The Republicans are telling us you put in your money and then we get the return on investment. How does
Exactly.
that make any fucking sense?
Yeah.
People will say, well, we'll just go into debt. We're going into debt because you're giving people who don't need the money money. If we're
Yeah.
going to go into debt, let's help the people cultivate the middle class where the bulk of the taxes come from so they can pay more taxes. They make more money. They can buy more shit. How does that not make any sense to anybody?
Well, it does make sense if you wanted to, but rich people hire people to argue the other way. You
Right.
know, I mean, the whole economic system that kind of came in with Reagan, this trickle down supply side, is made up bullshit. But they went out and
Yeah.
bought themselves a university economics department in the University of Chicago to promulgate it. You know, when you got enough money, you can get anything done you want done. But no, trickle down doesn't work. It's bogus. It's always been bogus. It always will be. The only thing that works is empowering people, rewarding them for their work. See, this is the thing we've forgotten here. I mean, in America, in the capitalism as it exists now, they say capital is all that matters. Capital is all that matters, not labor, but labor and capital have to be co equal. If all I've got is my labor, I have to be rewarded from it. We're rewarded for it in the same way that the person who has money to invest is rewarded for that equally. If we both do that, everybody wins. But it's the way it's been, right? And for so long now, corporations get all the money and they keep it. And they do not want to share it with the labor, with the people that make the money for them. And that's what's been going on. And that's what keeps happening here. And until we have a peaceful revolution that changes that, then we are headed for disaster.
That's what I don't understand with big corporations. If you really look at the big picture, if you don't have labor, you don't have a business. You don't have profits. I mean, it's like any negotiation. Both sides have something to offer. Both sides have something they want. You try to balance between those two so you can continue doing those deals. In this situation, they just want to rape these laborers and take everything away from them. to the point where they just don't want to do it anymore. And then they cry and whine, we don't have enough employees. Let's deport all your employees. And then you can whine about not having enough employees. It's just fucking stupid.
Well, that and they also they have this big pot of money, right? And they look around. Oh, there's that Joanne Fabrics is looking pretty good. So they go in and they buy up Joanne Fabrics and they use a leverage buyout. So they saddle it with debt, and then they get rid of all of the assets that it has and reduce the workforce so that they can't act effectively run the thing. It goes into bankruptcy. So all of those people all across the country who work for Joanne Fabrics, many as career employees, not only do they lose their job, they lose their pension, they lose everything because this greedy motherfucker, either a hedge fund guy or a private equity, they go in and they destroy these companies. And Red Lobster, same thing. You know, they went in, they owned the land under the restaurant, so they sold it. So now they have to pay rent. Plus, they loaded up with debt. Plus, they charge these enormous management fees. And before long, it's gone. They did it with Sears. They did it with so many, and they keep looking for all of this. So not only are they screwing with the labor, but they're screwing with successful businesses at the same time and destroying them. And then they buy up all of these, unrelated businesses. So there is no competition. There is no competition in this country anymore. There's collusion. Lowe's and Home Depot and Menards and all of these go price an item. Is there any difference? No, they'll sell it for the same thing. Is that an accident? No, they know.
What you're describing with business in this country is exactly what we were talking about with the farming industry.
Yes.
Big companies buying up everything and then controlling the pricing and the availability and all that stuff. And we have a government, Republicans particularly, but in some regards, Democrats, they're allowing them to do that. You talked about Teddy Roosevelt breaking up companies because
Yeah.
it was bad for the country. We need somebody like that now. I don't know if anybody like that exists on the Democratic side, but somebody has to recognize that to understand that it's untenable. You're not going to be able to do this forever without ruining the economy and destroying people's lives.
And yeah, and isolating as they're doing now is only going to make that even worse.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
okay, oh well, we're bringing all this money in on tariffs, but where's it going exactly? You know, is it retiring the debt? I haven't seen that the debt has gone down. Have you? Where is
No.
this money going? We need to monitor that, and of course also, even though you get this money in tariffs, you don't have the related activity where you were selling shit to other countries, so you don't get that income. You know, it's
Yeah,
it's it's a trade off.
the other question about tariffs, though, is not so much where it's going, it's where it came from.
Right. When it came from
Didn't
you and
come.
me.
Yeah, exactly. So if it came from you and me, it's just higher taxes.
Right. You know, well, like for example, I used the example on TikTok the other day. I went to the grocery store. I've been paying $6.99 for 11 ounces of coffee. They call it a pound, but it's 11 ounces. That's one way they make an extra penny or two. But it used to be $6.99. Now it is because I don't drink a lot of coffee, but now it's $8.99. And
Yeah.
that's this particular brand. Some of the others that used to be $12 are $22 now. And that's directly because of the tariffs, either directly or anticipation of, because companies also use excuses, right? Well, there's a tariff, even though it may not even be in effect yet, they're raising the price in anticipation of it.
Yeah, Donald Trump will go out and say, I had the biggest tax cut in history. Well, not for the regular folks, the
No,
folks that have to pay the bills. He, for all intents and purposes, has significantly raised taxes on this country. In fact, he's raised taxes higher on middle class people than any president in history in the
yeah,
fastest period of time.
and it ain't over yet. I mean, he's
No.
waiting until after the midterms for a lot of it to kick in.
Yeah, and the thing is basically what he's saying. Look at I got $300 billion I brought into the country. And I got it by robbing you, motherfucker. And now we're supposed to be
Exactly.
happy about that.
Yeah,
Please.
exactly. Exactly.
Fucking.
Even if the importer pays it initially, they get it back by raising the prices to us. So no, they don't pay. We do.
I love hearing from financial guys from Donald Trump trying to debate this. This isn't hard, motherfucker. This is
Mhm.
business 101. I get a product produced for me for X amount. I have to make a profit. So I add on to that price or what I paid so I can make a profit and run a company. If that product cost $100 today and I put 100, I may sell it for 150. But if I get that product and now it costs me 150, now I got to charge 200 or more.
Yeah.
It's simple fucking business economics. And I
Well,
got people that are financial experts saying, no, I'm wrong. No,
yeah.
sorry.
No.
I'm not an economics guy, but I know simple fucking math.
Well, that's it. And I got a lot of pushback from Trump folks about that post saying, "Well, buy American coffee. We grow it in California and we grow it in Hawaii. Just buy American coffee." And you don't understand supply and demand. Okay, at this point, they're a very small portion of the market, right? Because most of
Right.
it we import. But if I switch to them, guess what? That increases the demand on the Hawaiian coffee, the Kona. That increases that demand. And when demand increases, what goes up? The price. That's
And the price
simple
on the
economics.
the prices on those coffees are already higher than the regular prices.
Exactly, they are, but they don't get this. They don't understand that. Well, that's the purpose of tariffs, so you'll buy American. Well, not if you don't get American, and it's already, as you say, much higher.
Well, yeah, and unfortunately, America doesn't make everything. Well, we'll start manufacturing here. Really? Here's what's going to happen. It's going to take 5 to 10 years to build these manufacturing plants if you get anybody willing to invest in it. And then when they make it in this country, it's still going to be more expensive because it's made in this country. There is no way to save money or do better for this country by claiming that you're going to put manufacturing here. It's not going to happen. It takes too long. What do we do till then?
Hang on 1 second. Can we pause for a second?
I tell you what, we can wrap this up because we're at that point.
All righty. Let's say bye. I got to run real quick.
All right. Well, Ed, thank you very much for coming on.
You bet.
We appreciate you coming. We'll talk to you next week. For those of you listening, thanks for taking the time. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.